But we were off already to a rocky start. I don't know what is going to happen again. The good thing is it's brand new, so you're the first to hear it. Can I get a short notice? Who was here last year when I gave the presentation with Karim? Do some people already you do have a head start. The disadvantage is you also know some of the stuff. Our ground rules for this presentation, for this talk, please whatever. We will not only talk, we will play, so please feel free. It's entirely optional. If you don't want to participate, you don't have to. Gamification should always be optional. And if you have questions, you can ask them right away, but we will take questions that take a longer time to answer. We'll put them on the board and answer them afterwards. If you can give quick answers, please feel free to interrupt at any time. With this, we do it the Scrum way. We have no idea how long these interactions will take. So we have prioritized our presentation, and if we don't get to the end, we don't get to the end, you get all the important parts first. So about half time, we are done with what's important, and the other thing are just things we fill it up with. And yes, we will try to be fast so that you get most out of it, but if you miss something, first of all, we will be around the whole 2 days for questions, and of course the slides will be online later. So without much ado, now there comes the very interesting thing. My software company has been kind of study and delivered this buzzer only like today. So if you want to play, then what you should do is you should put this into your phone and call this URL, and then you can choose a nickname, and if you choose a nickname that was not already in use, then if you press the buzzer, you will be listed and we will see who answers first. Whoever is the first to press the buzzer will then get the chance to answer the questions. You also are playing in teams. Everybody of you got a small Lego piece, so you don't know who you're playing with together, but it should be a motivation to know that somebody else here is helping you to win. And as it has been spoiled before, you're playing for some vouchers. Each player of the winning team will get a Steam voucher. So to make it a little bit more interesting, I hope that people who are attending here are interested in gamification, are interested in games. If not, then you still can reconsider. Okay, does this work? Please feel free to test the buzzer. If it's green, your vote has been accepted. If it's red, it was a second vote that you provided, and you have to wait until the next question. Green means you have submitted your answer. Huh? Fritz Phantom was first to go. Okay. Everybody good? Anybody need some more time? No, it will stay in the same colors, only it will tell you whether you pressed too early. But if it's not free to answer, then there's no feedback that now you can press. That will be, when the question appears here, you should be able to press. Okay, so let's see how it works. If it doesn't work and if it stops working, we will do it with the classic hand signal, and who raises the hand first. That's our fallback mode for this. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me present you Sisyphus. So, you might know this situation, you start your office day, you get into the office, you start working, and you're doing your emails, you're trying to work off one of the loads, then you get to the next, you have several different email channels where your work is coming in, flowing in, and while you're going from one down to the next one, change your kind of work that you're doing, it builds up already somewhere else. So it's our daily work. You're flooded with information, you're flooded with tasks that you have to do, and in the end you end up where you actually started. If you happen to know somebody like this, okay? If you are somebody like this, then, well, good news, this presentation is exactly for you. So what we are talking about is how can we deal with this kind of repetitive work. How can we make this a little bit more fun? How can we motivate somebody in a situation like this? So the first question and the first test for the buzzer would be, okay. What is motivation?
It's my own desire to achieve a goal.
Yes. Enthusiasm for doing something from the Cambridge Dictionary. The reason for doing something. There might be external motivation, of course, external reasons why I do something, but yes, it's about willingness. And so, yes, why is motivation important? So I think we said this already last year. Okay, Marcus? 25%. 25%, okay. What would be next one?
Next would be Erfolg again.
30%.
30%, okay. Who would be next?
Henrik.
I would have said 30 as well.
Okay.
Okay.
You can change your answer. You're such huh? 30%, no?
Adrian.
20.
20% that you had? 25. Okay, we'll go with 25. 20, who was it? Okay, Gallup said indeed that only 13% are really motivated. That doesn't mean that all the other people are disengaged. The number for disengaged is depending on the industry, and I've seen a lot of different numbers, but up to 30 or 40% were the highest numbers that I saw. Can be actually actively disengaged, meaning they don't want to work. They would even go, some of them, as far as to try everything but to work, but only 13% are really motivated to do their work, are really like doing it out of their own interest. And nice to talk about gamification, nice to talk about motivation. Why would that be important to make a business case here? The next question would be interesting.
Hannes.
Yeah, I would say about $70 per hour. $70 per hour.
Annual salary, percentage in annual salary would be what I need. I can't yeah, sorry. I wouldn't know how much I wouldn't know how to calculate $70 per hour. I would now have to like.
I would guess then, let's say 13%.
30%? 13, okay. Who would be next?
Adrian again.
I think I read something about like 6 months of salary.
6 months is a lower boundary. Actually, depending on the kind of work, it's half a year salary up to, so 50 to 200% of an annual salary are the costs of turnover. This is a total cost, all including recruiting and the loss of knowledge and whatever you lose when you lose an employee, but retaining employees, especially in the area of knowledge work, is something that should be a goal. And this is something that people do not have in mind. They see, okay, yes, you have to pay a headhunter, you have to do something, but the total cost, if you only save like 5% of your retention, if you increase your retention by 5%, you really can save a lot of money. And for that, I mean, it might make sense to think about how do you keep people motivated. So, for self-motivation, there are 3 There are three preconditions. If you can name any of them, please press the button.
Test driver.
Mastery.
Mastery, yes, competence. I can now not show it because it's in the other order. Look, sorry.
Thank you.
Next one is Phantomas.
Phantomas. You can get, of course, 3 points. I forgot, you can tell all three as well.
Autonomy.
Autonomy, yes.
Mastery. Autonomy. Only 2 points.
2 is good.
Purpose. Oops.
Purpose, meaning, exactly. So, if we want to be motivated according to self-determination theory, autonomy, I can do my own work. I can choose what I want to work. I have my say. I'm not somebody else's tool. It's very important. Everybody having children knows it. You tell them to do something, no way. If they want to do it, they can do it forever. Competence, yes, if I can't do the job, I will not be motivated. If it's too difficult for me, it should be a challenge, but it has to be manageable. And the last one, purpose, relatedness, I have to know why am I doing this. I have to know what is the reason. So, given this, this is not new, this is already there for a while. For gamification, to work with this, we have to say it's a trend that has been coming up lately. But what does this picture have to do with motivation? Who can get that one? Lord V?
Tom Sawyer.
Tom Sawyer, exactly. So it's nothing new. Mark Twain already said in the 18th century, no, that's right, no, in the 19th century he said, so in the 19th century he already said that if you pay rich people for going on a leisure drive, they would call it work and they would not do it. They spend a ton of money for driving on Saturdays and Sundays with their carriages, but if you pay them for this, they will stop doing it. So this knowledge has been around all the time, and Tom Sawyer, of course, with having people pay him for them painting the fence for him, is one of the nicest stories and one of my absolute favorites. So, yes, I did, however, have to apologize dearly. Last year, I told some total nonsense. Karin and I were having this argument, can there be too much happiness? And I said, no, there cannot. And she said, yes, there could be. So what I found out in between, what I've learned so far is that there are actually two kinds of happiness. The one is eudaimonic happiness, the other is hedonic happiness. So the difference between those is hedonic happiness, we probably know it's eating, we are on tape, so I will say mating, and yeah, you get the picture. So this is things that make us happy because we are satisfying our needs. Eudaimonic happiness, however, is the happiness we get from connecting with people, for reaching a goal, for achieving something, doing something meaningful again. So this eudaimonic happiness is not that easy to achieve, but it's found to be people who find eudaimonic happiness, they might actually suffer more, they might do exercise a lot, feel bad during the time they strive for something, but overall the science of happiness has found that they are more happier overall. People who only try to get hedonic happiness, on the other side, they get dissatisfied. So it can happen that if you like eating a lot, it actually makes you unhappy in the long run. So there is too much happiness, especially if we fall into this category. And sorry again, Karin, for being wrong on that part. So the answer for motivating Sisyphus is there. If there's no stone, that's the easy way. And for work, making motivating, the easy answer is yes, make it meaningful. The problem is we could stop the talk right here. That would be it. Thank you, everybody. we are not going the easy way. We keep the stone there, we don't cheat on the problem. We know that there are jobs where it's difficult. Of course, if I'm working on a help desk or something, I can think always of how many people am I helping and how good is their life, how bad would it be if they have nobody to call. But it's really difficult to do, to keep this always in front of you. And so here, if we say we can't make the work meaningful or it's very difficult to make it meaningful, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't try, but then we can work around. We can try to use gamification. So now the next thing would be, it would be your turn. Please feel free to give us your idea how you would go around for motivating Sisyphus. Please pass one along for everybody. You got like 2 minutes.
If somebody wants to have some, write down some ideas. Do you have,
And you will get points for it, of course. Sorry. My mistake, sorry. Please don't forget to put some sigle or some gif on it so that we know who the idea is coming from.
anyone? Yeah?
Entschuldigung.
If not, it's not on the list. Ein Zeichen, dass du es wieder erkennst, dass es deine Idee war. Name geht auch.
Ja.
Anybody want to turn something in last minute?
More.
Okay.
Yep.
So now I'll hand over while I'll have a look and learn what I can talk for the next 40 minutes. These are the ideas that we will build the rest of the talk upon. No, just kidding. Okay.
Yep, and while Robert finds the best ideas, tries to judge, I will give you a short insight into what I did since the beginning of this year. As already hinted at in the beginning, I had the same problem as probably many others, not with the large numbers like 2,000 or so, like a friend of mine, which we had the pleasure of the screenshot in the beginning. But still, it was a growing number again, and it became apparent that this scroll bar will get a smaller handle day by day. And in the wild out there is a lot of possible solutions suggested, like, for example, I chose this for visualizing a new trend which is coming on for 2 or 3 years now, which is called Inbox Infinity, where people say, yeah, I don't care about filtering, I just say, I see what is in the inbox, I work from the top 10 or 20 emails, and what I don't get would come again, and I just rely on the search function of Outlook, of Gmail, of Hotmail, whatever. What's quite some time age now is the getting things done approach, where David Allen proposed to have a certain ordering system for your tasks and inboxes, and a third one which came out of the old paper era, where people did their tasks in the folders. There was a system with 43 folders. And quite cumbersome. And the third one, Inbox Zero, which is what I chose to do this year. Just a short look, what are those candidates? Candidate 1, getting things done. For those who don't know, this is a system. Stuff comes in the inbox, then there is a certain set of rules how to order it, how to approach it, and how to sort it in certain actionable folders and so on. And this can be either this chart on the left side, or even a little bit more nicely laid out on the right side. For me, it did not feel appropriate, so I also had a look at the 43 folders when I saw what they had to set up. Nope. And then the Inbox Zero, which in the beginning just had, when something comes in, choose it, delete it, delegate it, if you're not the appropriate one to deal with it, respond to it if it's able to be done quickly, or if it's not able to be done now, defer it, and if nothing else can be done with the thing, just do it. There are several things which people do to individualize this system. So for example, I almost never delete emails, except it's really spam or not intended for me, for example, but I'm archiving it. I've set up the shortcut. This is what my implementation looks like for this. I have set up the shortcuts in Outlook with key presses. So I have the actionable folder, so this is the inbox for the non-German speakers. Then those are some folders which is actionable, deferred for later, what I'll be doing someday or maybe. This is something I added in addition to the standard guides too. I cannot do something about it, but I'm still interested in it. Maybe I will have a look on it later. But this is still something I plan to do some things for. And waiting for is a thing when I deferred something to somebody else who is better suited for the task. I don't want to get it completely out of my mind, but know if other people, for example, forget to respond to me. So it goes to waiting for, and I see, have I already received a response, have I to do something, or have to check up for other people. And the process folder at the bottom here, in the tablet is not solved correctly. This is where everything is archived. I do not have any more sophisticated folder setup. This is it. Everything which is not to be done anymore goes just to process. Yesterday in the evening at the speakers meetup, we had at our table, we had people who exercised all of those except the 43 folders. So we had a little bit of discussion. Some said, I just rely on the search function, inbox, infinity is it for me. I don't care about if the folder is full. Others said, I like it like it's here. The inbox is clear, empty, my mind is clean. That's the way to go for me. What was my progress? Beginning of the year, February 12th, I began to have some screenshots. This was, after the first start, I cleaned up everything. The inbox was empty, just one line in there, and the actionable flows I was keeping up. Then some things began to come in, but 2 days later there was not too much open. April, there was quite some rise, but still, I think with those numbers, the inbox visibility is 0, and the actionable folder is, this is everything which was at that day on my agenda. But for me at least, it was a relieving view. And June, just shortly, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, it was still a little bit growing, but I have still the feeling that I'm keeping up. What was the result for me here? I have a reduced anxiety, so I don't feel stressed out when I open Outlook or have a look at the emails and see this so much thing. I don't have to, even when you just see the subject line in the head, you just mentally review, remember something, and this is completely gone now. The locus of control, this is something from psychology, which means your feeling is that you're in control of your own life and your actions. And this is, the feeling for me is, yeah, I really know what's to do, what I'm achieving. I see it every time when I'm working down my to-do list. I know I'm achieving something, and from the overview, I really know what's still up on my agenda. Of course, not everything is an email, so around March I began also to set up a small to-do tablet. This is a magnetic board with magnetic stripes and just a whiteboard marker. When somebody comes over and says, yeah, I need this and this from you, and say, yeah, just I put it down there to not forget it, what is sometimes, or what has sometimes happened. Yeah. Just coming to the end.
What's the green and the red? Does it have any meaning?
It's in the beginning it started. I did not make a difference. Later on, the green ones there is, or for me, it was already existing item in Jira, which came to me, and the red ones were some just small things which people came in and said, yeah, can you just have a look at something, or can you give me something which does not require an item in an electronic system. Final thoughts for me, I think for people with a medium email load like I have, I think it's very practical to use. If you're feeling comfortable with it, I will keep on it. But what I already learned in also this half year is from time to time there is an email outbreak. Your box fills up, you have 20, 30, 40 emails, but when you are not downplay it and keep it, you get down with it. You have still a sense of overview and control of your inbox. So, back to Robert.
Okay, so this was a toughie actually. I had no idea what we would get. Some honorary mentions. I never thought I would see this twice, but actually I have asked the question before and somebody said make him laugh to the stone. I hope that's not literal. Another one quite interesting, so seriously, we are on an Agile conference. Fear, and if he lets a stone fall, his family, along with everybody in the town, could be dying. Okay. There are definitely several good ideas. Some actually we will use that we have, but for the time being, those would be our 3 nominees right now, and I would like to vote raising the hand. So what we have got here is, oh, I'm biased again. I would put a bottle of vodka and Coke on the top of the mountain. I mean, this is either very nice or very sadistic because it never reaches the top. But anyway, so that would be one of them. There have been several others like this, but this was the one that was most worthy in a way. Listen to your favorite song and invent a special dance with moves pushing the rock upwards. And the third one would be most stylish rolling of the rock on the hill would be rated. There would be a competition how he would do it in the most stylish way. So please raise your hands for vote number 1.
One is the bottle of vodka.
Vodka and Coke, yes.
2.
So we got 2. This is definitely a contender. The favorite song is the own created dance, victory dance.
Beer.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
It's okay, I manipulate, it's not okay. And yes, finally, last but not least, the voting. Okay, we don't have to count. Okay, so 34, that's then second place, then it's not a tiebreaker. Who is M?
I'm the dancing guy.
You're a dancing guy, okay, so then 3 places almost at home. And who is the vodka and vodka and Coke?
Yeah.
Statistic woman.
Thomas? Sorry. Okay. Thanks a lot. Okay. Okay, yes. If you didn't see it. So, now, as we said, if we go to halftime, then basically, if we had to come down to one slide and one message, then this would be the one. So this is actually how you go about it. You will hear us talking about email. This is of course just one channel of incoming work, but it's the one channel that we focused on. We will use now, or I have been using the techniques that Andy described to make a game out of reading emails. Of course, I could have made the same thing with phone calls, I could have made the same thing with anything else, but the process is always the same. So what really comes down to is that first, you have to make it measurable. We call it Sisyphus work because who knows how many emails he reads a day? Who has an idea how many emails you really get? Oh, somebody, yes? How many?
200.
200. Okay, I'm near there. But I measured it, of course. And I don't count all the emails that go into my not focused box. So all the tickets for Jira and everything, I don't count those.
Me too.
But if you get 200 a day, then sorry. I mean, you're busy all day just by email, actually. But yes, I get to 60 to 80 emails a day, and I keep forgetting it. And I don't know every day, did I do it this day or that day. So make the work measurable is the first step. The next one is, of course, make the progress visible. So there was the idea of a leaderboard here. It's basically, if you say, if you have a daily score at the end of the day, how many emails did you do? You can say, okay, you did some work, even if you are staying still at the same position. You can say, okay, what have you done? How much Sisyphus work have you been doing? Then you measure this baseline. Why do you do that? We are using gamification to change things. We want to achieve something. Whether it is our watch that shows us how many calories or whatever, we need to know first, where do we start out with? If we start with gamification right away, we will not be able to find out whether it works for us or not. And once we have measured the baseline, then there becomes this, iterative loop. So we'll decide on the players. Andy has been asking everybody when you came in, do you want to play? Gamification should always be optional. If you make it like not optional, people will be, there's likely to be resistant, that it can be like, we had visualization on the board here. Visualize Sisyphus work, Disney did this. Disney had, how good are you doing on your work? You had to clean, and they had this board up with who was doing the most of the Sisyphus work. There was a huge backlash. There was a huge backlash because people were feeling control, and what was meant to work in a positive way worked out just the opposite. People did not dare to go in the toilet anymore, because if they were at the end of the list, then it of course meant they were working slow. So gamification should be optional. You should decide on your players. Depending on your players, your game design will change. You'll have a totally different game if you are going into the direction of adult players, if you are doing it for children, obviously. So once you know your players, the next thing is that you can decide on the game mechanics. So those who have been here, we will be having it right away later again. Octalis is the different game drives. It means you make a game design, you decide by what do you want to motivate the players, what tricks do you use to get them into the game, what are they striving for. Yukai is using white hat and black hat motivation. Fear, definitely black hat. So yes, it's a working motivation. It's black hat motivation can be quite successful, but of course it has its drawback. And of course, white hat motivation is reaching a goal, the scoreboard where I'm at, and all this stuff. It's powerful without all the drawbacks that black hat motivation has. So once you decide on your gaming mechanics, what you're going to use, I'm going to use a high score board, I'm going to use a scoring, and I'm going to use rewards or something. Then you implement this. You already know how to measure your work. Now you say what does it work. You implement this game and you test it. You try out, does it work? And then the next step is, of course, change. You measure the change. So you hope that your game is doing something, it is achieving a goal, it changes the behavior of the people who are playing, and you look at how big is this change. So basically we're done at that point. Now, obviously not. The problem with games is, just like with other things, they do get boring. You get used to games, and what you achieve might be a permanent change, but it could also be that we have the adaptation, that we have the erosion. If you remember the pleasure, the problem with satisfaction, happiness, and everything, once you're used to something, you adapt, and the effect might be lost, and you have to go over the circle again, choose the players, decide the mechanics, implement over and over again. Sounds like a lot of work. Remember, 50 to 200% of an annual salary. If you are thinking of these numbers, maybe it's worth the effort to put that in. So, if you're talking about adaptation and erosion, we would come to the next quiz question. How long does it take to form or change a habit? No hand signals this time. Did you? I don't know.
Adrian?
1 year. 1 year.
1 year. Okay, I'll take another answer in this.
7 weeks.
7 weeks. That makes me difficult.
49.
49. I'll give the point here. The answer actually is that it was a long time believed to be 21 days. So that's why I give the point for the 7 weeks, because the average of 66 days is, it was for a long time believed to be 3 weeks, because for several phenomena, for example, when people lost a limb or something, after 3 weeks they got used to it. There have been several occasions where this has been monitored, and there has been widespread belief that you have to have at least 3 weeks to get any kind of habit. Philippe Lally then did the study, and she found out, no, that's not true. Depending on what it is and what the circumstances are, it can be anything between 18 to 254 days until you have developed a habit. But on the average of all of those things that she did, it would be 66 days. So that's interesting because we talked about gamification getting boring. We have to have some time, we have to get some time so that we don't lose what we want if we're doing that. If you remember that piece of chocolate that Jürgen was talking about in the keynote last year, he rewarded himself with a chocolate. It's a lot of chocolate. So anyway, next question. We are talking about what is the effect on happiness if you measure happiness itself? Not we. Why are you always the fastest? This is the game is rigged. The game is rigged. You're watching his button when he says that. Okay.
I would say happiness increases.
Happiness increases. Next one. Who is it?
Johannes.
It decreases.
It decreases, exactly. That has been our biggest, or my biggest problem, really. This has been something I set out 2 years ago, and what I said is I, of course, want to have the coolest team, the team which is having most fun in our whole company. And once you set out to this goal, what you try to do is, of course, is you measure happiness. But by measuring happiness, as soon as you ask yourself whether you are happy, it has been proven that you cease to be so. As soon as you keep asking yourself the question, am I happy, am I happy, am I happy, you will become less happy. Which is, of course, a real dilemma, because we are trying to motivate people, we are trying to make work more fun and everything, and then by looking, did we achieve the change, we are winning it all. So this is something, of course there are means other than asking people, are you happy, to find out whether what you're doing is having an effect. Yes?
But if you have unhappy people in your team, maybe you can delegate the measuring thing to the
somebody volunteering here? No. It's, of course, we want to check it with other people. We have this, we have the happiness app. Actually, it's now a real thing. We tried for some weeks. We want to be more conscious that if people are coming to work, just have to watch. No, I think we're doing fine. What it was is we were looking at whether people, everybody could rate 3 times a day and say, I'm having on a level of 1 to 5, I'm in a good mood or in a bad mood. And the idea was that we don't know who's in a good mood, we don't know who's in a bad mood, but we could tread lightly if something is not working correctly. And if everybody's in a good mood, then we can take more work and more work. And no, just kidding. Anyway, yes, it has a negative effect on the overall system. It really does. It's hard to explain, or I didn't understand it quite, to be honest. Some of the things are, if you are checking for happiness, you always check a delta to your goal, and by not reaching your goal, you already get unhappy. But there are some other reasons, as I said, that I cannot quote. It's just the way it is. Okay, that's an interesting point. I have no idea, I've not come across that, but it would be a good idea. Am I angry? Am I angry? What would that make out of me? I will research into this. It's an interesting point, but I'm afraid, no, it's not interesting.
this time you will increase unhappiness.
Maybe.
Measuring itself is not a happy job.
You mean that measuring is it doesn't matter what, as soon as you have to, I don't know. Actually, I like measuring. It works if you're in sports or everything, you got the results and you get the satisfaction out of it. If you're not measuring what you achieve. So, I think I can say that it will not work like that. Anyway, so we were now talking about the real life example. We are gamifying our mail flood. So, as we said, mails are coming in on me. I have the project. I still have this project actually. It was quite stressful then. It changed to, no, let's talk about a different thing. And what happens is you get more and more emails, you get slower to answer, some mails are being lost, the response time grows. And yes, actually for the whole system it's quite unclear what am I doing, how is this working out. And what was the first step? Yes, first I have to check the behavior that I wanted to change was I wanted to change my response time. I wanted to be faster. Of course, I found out later that the faster you are with your response times, the more mail you get. That's another story. But what I set out to do is I want to measure my response time for doing a mail. And yes, for this I found out that can be quite tiresome. I will tell you afterwards. So I started to automating it. And regarding automation, this would be our next question. How much time can we reasonably spend on automation of a weekly task to save 2 hours for a year?
Erfolg.
70 hours.
70 hours. Okay, I'll take another guess.
I would have also said 70 the first page because it's like 80, you're saving 80 hours per year, right? 40 weeks of work. So reasonable can also be like 50% of it. So 40.
Okay.
50.
50.
94.
John Doe is next.
I would say around 100.
100. Yeah, 104. I'm sorry. Okay, now 104. Actually, the crazy thing is reasonable is if you spend no more time than that, what you are saving. And it actually would mean 4.3 days and 30 working days. I go even further. If it is really tiresome work, you might want to invest more work here than what you're saving, because the assumption is that doing this repetitive work can be so frustrating that it takes away motivation. If I could change my project reporting and get rid of all this filling out things, I would definitely spend more time. But the thing is, if you're doing gamification, you should look at it. It works mostly the other way around. We think that we save a lot of time, and we implement something that actually doesn't save that much. So there's a nice chart here that actually says you have to investigate how much time do you save, how often do you do this task, and depending on this you can see or calculate how much is it worth to you to invest into this task. Because if we are doing gamification, for example, let's say I have a problem with my time reportings. My time reportings are not up to date. People are reporting at the end of the month, but not daily. I want to change this. I need change in behavior. It's a daily task. It takes like 5 minutes. If I can save this somehow, then of course it has to be worse. Like if now I have to code 20 days for a game to make a game out of this, the effort I put into it will be much higher, and so this should be evaluated if you gamify something. How much work do you want to put into it? Of course, you can do it like I did. I'm writing a paper on gamification. I'm holding this talk, so I have all the time in the world. So I don't have to care about the business process and the business plan to say how much I want to invest.
Don't you want to do the gamification not to get faster, but to have people more motivated?
Yes.
So you would need to measure the motivation.
What the motivation brings you, yes, how much it brings you, what would be the equivalent of getting this. This is of course only automatic time saving for gamification. If I can say I spend like 1 hour every 2 weeks having to run after the people asking them, did you do your booking, did you do your booking, did you do your booking, then that would be the time that I save. But there are benefits that are not on the time scale, yes. No question about that. So, what did I do? As I said, I set out project stressful, too many emails. So the biggest motivation you get to automate something is when you do it manually. So I said I wanted to check my response time. So what I did is I wrote an Excel. I wrote the what kind of email is it, who gave it to me, when did I get it, when did I read it, when was it resolved in the case of delayed mails. Once you start writing this Excel for every email, after like 20 lines or 30 lines, you take a day or two off and write your program that does this for you. Once you're done with that, you get the same data, but you get it for free, basically. Okay, yes, of course. So after I was here, I wrote this, not very impressive, a very minimal viable product, but what it's doing is that when I press the process button, I was using Inbox Zero, I had my process folder and my action folder, and depending on which button I pressed, it stored this information. Was there a reply required? Was there an information, or was it an action that I had really work coming into my system? And depending on the button that I pressed, the mail was moved to one folder, and this is what I started out with. And I think it was not even 2 days. From work time, probably 3 to 4 hours, and then a lot of learning about some certain libraries. So the programming was pretty easy, the technology. So if I would have had a real code, I'm not doing it myself, probably it's only about like 400 lines of code. And once I had this, of course, I started measuring. So this was my baseline. As you can see, this is the time it took me, the number of emails that mounted up, and my baseline was 20? No, 10 days. So I had a lot of emails waiting for 10 days. You see, okay, obviously I didn't do a lot of them here. Then actually I started doing them here because I was measuring. And I had a lot of emails in my inbox that were older than 10 days, and then here I'm done, and now I got rolling. The side effect of that, and an interesting side effect, was that it's actually waste. It doesn't belong even here, but it was interesting to notice is that when I did this, I found out in my baseline who I got email from and how many those were. So what I found out is that some people I actually wanted to have a lot of email from were not in the list of the top 3. They actually sent me much less email than that. And one person is actually sending me 10% of all my emails. So this was like, whoa. I tried to correct this, I tried to reduce it, I didn't do a good job on that part. I have to say I actually increased my workload when I tried to get the emails cut here, because the more I pushed, the more resistance I got. But it was interesting because there are some people, I actually noticed they are under my radar, and there are a lot of people who just don't care. It's this CC, I have to spread my information everywhere, and yes, you do have to read those emails too. So they don't notice how much work they are producing. And so this was my baseline, so let's get ready to the first game. The first game was, what am I going to do? Okay, race. The race to 1,000 emails, I had my tool, I was happy, yes, here we go. And what I do is, how long does it take me to get to my first 1,000 emails, so that I can have a check on, did my response time improve? So basically, we're here now finally with the game drives. So who of you knows this? Okay. So UKCHO has the system Octalysis. It's a framework to describe different strategies, different game mechanics, and he ordered them into 8 different game drives. That's why he calls it Octalysis. There is extensive documentation, and they can really speak for having a look at this. I like it a lot. If you do any kind of gamification, I think it might probably the best thing out there. And so these 3 here at the top are what we called before the whitehead gamification. So these are the positive things. It's about accomplishment, leaderboards, badges, see what did I do in my game. Then of course number one here, make a game meaningful, make you achieve something real, not just for fun. And empowerment, showing you what you have done, showing capabilities, giving you extra things you can do in the game, give you more choices. That would be the white hat gamification. Then there is ownership, that you have the feeling you have something in your game. There's the social influence. Social influence, of course, requires other people to talk about it. So have somebody else to communicate how good you are, show off what special item or so you have. And then we are at black hat gamification. So scarcity, something is very difficult to get. Avoidance, like death in the classical video games, you don't want to die, you definitely have to do anything, but you don't want to start from the beginning. And unpredictability, so uncertainty, not knowing what is going to happen now and then. So this is the model that I also will be using now for the analysis of what my games were. And with this first race to the 1,000 emails, the question would be, what is the main drive in the race of 1,000 emails? To get to 1,000 emails?
Avoidance.
Avoidance? No.
You want to avoid emails, so that's okay.
No. I want to reach 1,000. I want to reach my 1,000 mark.
Yeah, but why are you doing this? Because you want to avoid.
Because it's a milestone. I can say I have now, it's a crazy game. But there's an interesting thing. It was the first thing that I came up with. It was the easiest thing to do, actually. It was a game that I could design for myself within 10 minutes. Once I thought about it, okay, let's look how long does it take me to get 2,000 emails. To look forward to it. I do the very same thing, for example, with my retirement. I am counting the days to my retirement. No, I do it in a totally different way. So I'm counting, but I say how much time do I have left to achieve something? What can I achieve until then? What is possible? So as crazy as this is the idea, how quick can I get to 1,000 emails? Suddenly an email becomes something positive because it gets me closer to the goal. But it's of course only in my head, as most of the gamification is. But what's the
That's the next stage. Algorithm.
Accomplishment?
accomplishment? Exactly. Leaderboard, high score. Yes, I managed 1,000 emails in 2 months. Okay. Yes, we are up here in the left upper body. And the interesting thing is, this was the first game that I had. And yeah, here's our baseline. These are the first 1,000 emails. If we are looking, we got down from some emails longer than 12 days unread to 10 days, 5 days overall actually. There are some that had an action required and that took of course sometimes longer. But basically that's very impressive actually. Problem is I reached 1,000 here, look at this. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think that this was responsible, but it happened to be that once I reached 1,000 emails, I was doing something else, I was focusing on something else, and yes, it showed that a lot of emails were late. So, round 1, let's get to round 2. Chocolate anyone. So, Jürgen said it last year, he did it for running. I decided, okay, let's do the same thing. For a given number of mails that are processed every day, I get a piece of chocolate. Very straightforward, very easy. Just know, okay, now you did this many mails. Take your chocolate. Not very healthy. Anyway, so what would be the core drive on continuous rewards? Achievement, interesting. Actually, I don't know. You still get the ball, but now I would say ownership most likely, but I have this question here because actually it's not It's not a classical game reward, or I didn't find it, let's put it this way. I was on ownership like virtual goods, but actually it's not a virtual good. A virtual good would be something I can show off, but this is something that I do for myself, and it's a real thing, so maybe, that's why I put this here, maybe Octalysis doesn't cover it all. Huh? Scarcity, I don't get enough chocolate. Yeah, that's a good one. That's something I didn't think about. Anyway, as it was quite predictable, it worked for a time, not very well. Next round would be, okay, too much chocolate. So if you know that for every 10 emails you get answered, you eat your Bumkuchen, then of course this is not working out. So let's make it a little bit more interesting. And yes, we talked before about the habit. The next quiz question would be, how long does it take for a game effect to wear off, for a game to become boring? I really spoiled this question before.
1,000 emails.
1,000 emails. Ah, that's I have to give one, but where is it? By the end of the day, I will actually be an expert at throwing balls. Okay. Is the next one?
No next one.
No next one. Okay, you can still press your buzzer.
Okay.
One day?
One day? No, definitely. You don't get bored in one day.
What be?
Okay.
It's longer than the spirit of the 66 days.
Longer than 66 days. Who would be next to get the ball? No, okay, you get it, okay. It feels like, on this question, I feel like cheating because he's also a colleague of mine and I can't give it. The answer to that one is very interesting. Of course, it depends on the game. Actually, Brian Berkeley had in his book, Gamification, he actually wrote that it takes every 3 months you have to renew your games. Every 3 months, and yes, this is exactly, if you have 66 days on average to get the habit, to form a habit, and you have to change the game in every 3 months, yeah, you're kind of close, so it's really interesting. But of course, I didn't take this answer here, I chose the answer, it depends, because it really is different. There are games that can be boring right away, and there are games that have so many different sides to it that I don't go along with these 3 months. I don't agree with them, that's why I say it depends. But what we did is, we had this already last year, we tried it and we failed. We started very easy with task battleship. The idea was, okay, if I have a task, then I will play a game of battleship, a very easy old-fashioned game, and I will have like, every task I'm done, I'm allowed to shoot. And if I hit, then I get my chocolate. So now, of course, the number of pieces of chocolate were reduced, and I didn't know, will I get something or will I not get something? So by doing this, there was more suspense, the game was more interesting, and I played in the first version against the computer. So I had to win a real game now, and it was interesting, did I win or not? The first 2 days I lost, I thought, okay, then I played on the easy level and started winning, then it was more motivating again. But yeah, so this would be the next step, and once we were there, this was working okay, was fun, but next what I wanted to do is, yes, I'm doing this all by myself, let's involve some other people. So in round 4, it was play with somebody else, play with the team. As I said, we had task battleship done before and it failed. Okay, this time I'm going to do it right. So I wrote a little computer program and I had a battleship server that would accept, you could place your access wherever you wanted on somebody else's board, and it would tell you was it a hit or a miss. And I offered this to my team. We can play this together whenever you have done a task. You can shoot, and everybody can shoot against everybody, and we'll see who will win. And yeah, that's the thing about gamification. It's really helpful when you're trying to do it for yourself. It's really helpful when you're motivating yourself. But as soon as you're like the boss, it doesn't work. So this is why you have to make it optional. This is the question, who is producing it? If it's coming from the outside, the thing is not accepted. If people think you're trying to trick them, that's one of the core messages. If people think you want them to work harder and that's why you're doing it, then there will be resistance. In our case, it was promised to me, but I don't know. I would believe it now for the sake of it, that it was because it was a crappy or it was no user interface. So we had to do REST calls and there was no user interface. So that's why the people on my team said they were not interested in playing. But so I failed for the second year in a row. We're still not playing this game. And the question would be, if you're playing this game in a team, again, going back to analysis, which game drives are the core drives when you play group task management? Who got it?
Effort.
Social influence.
Yes, is one of them. Can you name me another?
And achievements.
Achievement, I mean, there's a little, but it's not the main motivation. So social influence, everybody knowing how we are doing in the game is one thing. Beats for those next.
I would have gone for social influence as well, but
Yeah, that's gone. No point for that one anymore.
Thomas.
What was it called? The scarcity? What was the word? Scarcity? Scarcity?
Scarcity.
Because I'm afraid that I lose.
Yeah, that's the right one, but it's not scarcity. It's the avoidance.
Ah, sorry.
I'll give you the ball anyway. So yes, it's the right thing. Avoidance, grief, fear of loss. You don't want to be the one losing the game. This should make you, of course, be interested in putting more effort into it to win the game, because it's very visible. Everybody sees how many hits somebody else has got. And I have no idea why I was shooting at everybody in my team and the whole team was shooting just at me. Anyway, there's an interesting side effect on this. So we had another gamification idea. This is our project progress. So this is a puzzle and this is what it looks like right now. I was very proud to present this on several occasions when we had like only half the parts, but it was constantly updated. With every user story, with every story point we have to reach 1,000 story points, and it's a 1,000-part puzzle, so it's a perfect match. People were puzzling during the daily stand-up and putting parts in to say, okay, yes, we've done this, and it was really, really great. And now what we did is we just changed the table. We just have it not right where our daily is, where it had the whole table for itself, but we moved our office and we just moved it like 1 meter, 1.5 meter away. And yes, there are things lying around on top of it. Suddenly, people started, and this is this little yellow sticky note here. They started to say, okay, I have 5 story points done, somebody else do the puzzle. And now we went here up to 550 parts, and then suddenly it started, okay, 5, somebody else do it. It's really interesting how very small things can affect this. Somebody said maybe now this is the difficult parts of the puzzle, it's not so easy to do it, and that's the reason. Could be, I don't know. But it was a really interesting thing to see that only by changing this, the rhythm of the game, the interest in the game, everything has been altered. So, okay. Final round, where did I get to? So my team did not want to play with me. I played with myself again. Round 5, unpredictability. So we had it already a little bit, but I still knew every time that I got my 10 emails, I either got chocolate or not. This was getting kind of uninteresting. So what I did is I decided to add a little module, a raffle. So I did some in-between tasks. I decided, okay, yes, there is immediate gratification tasks like 5-minute break for reading something, or 5-minute break for playing a mobile game. But there's also long-term gratification like a jackpot prize if I ever manage to get it, or for example, yes, playing one hole of golf on the next weekend. So this is like I had my scoring system. When I reach a certain amount of so now I have to change this here. Sorry. This work. So I changed my game. As you can see here now, it has evolved something. It has now a task list and the prizes that I won. So the program grew. I have my daily score, my high score, a key counter, key strike counter to see how long my responses are and everything. So this evolved. And what I did now is that when I'm playing, actually, it looks like this. So now I press the button, processed or reply required, or create task in case I have to do something out of that. And when I reach then the goal, suddenly I have this popping up, and yes, okay, do some exercise, take a break, make 200 steps right now. This is a way how I have reached the game. For me, it's yeah, again, I'm spoiling, sorry. Didn't think that through. Yes, and so what is the game drive for random rewards and jackpot and stuff like that?
Unpredictability.
Yes, uncertainty. Oh, sorry. So, okay. Now I have no idea about the time. We have lost my time now. 15 minutes. Okay. So, yes, we proceeded faster than I actually thought. I'm not done here. As I said, there are different channels. I'm monitoring the work. I found out that I get more work in than I can actually deal with. So that was interesting experiences. But what would be next? It's right around the corner. Don't laugh. I'm not kidding. Now I didn't get around to do this actually. Actually, next week somebody might come and help me with that. World Domination, so you know the game of Risk. There's a free version of this game, and this is called Domination, and you can actually play this. And all I need to do here is, I go back to my task battleship idea again. I say our team will play ideally against a computer opponent, and we play as a team together against him. We do the same thing that for tasks you get your armies, and all I need to do is get this game adapted by some intern that will come next week. He will change the code so that we can say, okay, how many tasks did we do to get our armies? The computer will play automatically, and then we can play as a team together against an opponent. I hope that this will be working out, and we'll see, and that's the plan. So, no question on this one. But what we do have finally, last but not least, would be some bonus points if somebody wants to take them. Remember, they are real steam vouchers, they are not stretched open. Okay. So basically that would be it. We didn't want to spend as many points. That was a mistake. And interestingly, a failed experiment. Because what we wanted to show actually was that picking up walls when you are helping somebody and there's no use for it should be different, motivating than when you're playing a game. But it can happen that you construct a game and nobody's interested in playing. Yeah. Surprising for me, but then again. So anyway, for the teams to find out who won the vouchers, please feel free to find your matching pieces and tell us the number. So there should be up to four people who have the same Lego piece. Please look around how your people did. And yes, whoever got the highest score.
Ich habe ein Lego-Stein gefunden.
Da hat irgendjemand auf die Schnauze gehört. Nur ein Kreuz.
Eis Einstein.